As an 80-year-old man who's seen it all, I've learned a thing or two about life and family. Today, I want to share some practical advice with those of you in your golden years, particularly about what not to share with your children. These aren't dark secrets, mind you, but rather thoughts and feelings that might unintentionally burden your kids or strain your relationship with them. 1. I regret having you. Telling your children you regret having them can inflict deep, lasting emotional wounds. It undermines their sense of self-worth and belonging. Even if said in a moment of anger, these words can't be unsaid. Instead, focus on the joy your children bring. Remember the proud moments, the first steps, the graduations, the weddings. If you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to say, "Parenting is tough sometimes, but I wouldn't trade it for the world." Think about it. How would you feel if your parents told you they regretted your existence? It's a gut punch, isn't it? It can lead to a host of psychological issues: depression, anxiety, low self-esteem. Your child might start questioning their value not just in your eyes, but in the world at large. Moreover, it can irreparably damage your relationship. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. Your child might start distancing themselves, afraid of being a burden. They might stop sharing their joys and sorrows with you, thinking you don't really care. Instead, focus on the joy your children bring. Remember the proud moments, the first steps, the graduations, the weddings. If you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to say, "Parenting is tough sometimes, but I wouldn't trade it for the world." This acknowledges your struggles while reaffirming your love. When times are hard, try to reframe your thinking. Instead of, "I regret having kids," think, "Raising kids has been challenging, but it's made me stronger." This shift in perspective can work wonders for your mental health and your relationships. 2. Your sibling is my favorite. We're all human. It's natural to connect more easily with one child than another. Maybe one shares your interests or communicates in a way you understand better. But favoritism? That's a family dynamite stick waiting to explode. Expressing favoritism can create lasting rifts between siblings. It can lead to resentment, low self-esteem, and a sense of never being good enough. These feelings can persist well into adulthood, affecting your children's relationships with each other and with you. Think about the long-term consequences. The favorite child might feel pressured to maintain their status, leading to anxiety and perfectionism. They might also feel guilty about their position, straining their relationship with their siblings. The non-favorite child, on the other hand, might struggle with feelings of inadequacy. They might work themselves to the bone trying to earn your approval, or they might give up entirely, thinking they'll never measure up. This can lead to a lifetime of self-doubt and insecurity. Moreover, favoritism can poison sibling relationships. It can breed jealousy and competition where there should be love and support. Siblings might grow to resent each other, missing out on what could be one of life's most enduring and meaningful relationships. Instead of comparing, celebrate each child's unique qualities. "I love how you each bring something special to our family," is a much better approach. Recognize that your children are individuals, not competitors for your affection. Try to spend one-on-one time with each child, focusing on their interests and strengths. This not only helps you connect with each child individually, but also shows them that they're equally valued. Remember, love isn't a finite resource. You don't love one child less by loving another more. 3. I'm staying in this marriage just for you. Marriage can be challenging, especially after decades together. You might feel trapped or unhappy. But telling your children you're only staying married for their sake, that's a heavy burden to place on their shoulders. This revelation can lead to guilt, anxiety, and conflicted feelings about their own relationships. It might make them feel responsible for your happiness, a responsibility that's not theirs to bear. Consider the impact on their view of relationships. They might grow to see marriage as a trap, something to be endured rather than enjoyed. This could affect their own romantic relationships, making them hesitant to commit or quick to give up when things get tough. Moreover, children are perceptive. They can often sense when things aren't right between their parents. By staying in an unhappy marriage, for the kids, you might be exposing them to an unhealthy relationship model. This can shape their understanding of what love and partnership should look like, potentially leading to problems in their own relationships down the line. There's also the risk of resentment. Your children might feel guilty for trapping you in an unhappy situation, even though it wasn't their decision. This guilt can strain your relationship, creating distance where there should be closeness. If you're struggling in your marriage, seek professional help or confide in a close friend. Tell your children, relationships take work, but we're committed to each other. This shows them that love requires effort and perseverance. Remember, it's okay to admit that marriage is challenging. You can say something like, "Your mother, father, and I have our ups and downs, but we're working through them together." This acknowledges the reality of long-term relationships while modeling healthy problem-solving. 4. I can't wait until you can take care of me. It's natural to look forward to your children's support as you age, but expecting them to put their lives on hold for you? That's a recipe for resentment. Expressing this expectation can make your children feel guilty about pursuing their own lives and dreams. It can create tension and strain in your relationship, especially if they feel unable to meet your expectations. Think about the pressure this puts on your children. They might feel torn between their own aspirations and their desire to care for you. This can lead to stress, anxiety, and even depression. They might make career or life choices based on your needs rather than their own desires, potentially leading to regret and resentment later in life. Moreover, this expectation can create an unhealthy dynamic where your children feel more like caretakers than family members. It can blur the lines between parent-child relationships and create an imbalance that's hard to rectify. There's also the practical aspect to consider. Your children might not be in a position to provide the level of care you need, whether due to financial constraints, geographical distance, or their own family responsibilities. Placing this expectation on them can lead to feelings of inadequacy or failure if they can't meet it. Instead, focus on maintaining your independence as long as possible. Say things like, "I'm glad we have such a close relationship. I know I can count on you, but I also want you to live your own life." This balance shows you value both their support and their independence. It's important to have open discussions about your future care needs, but approach it as a family conversation, not an expectation. Explore various options together, including professional care services. This shows that you're taking responsibility for your own care while appreciating any support your children can offer. 5. I'm afraid of dying. Death is a part of life, but it's a topic that can cause a lot of anxiety. While it's important to have open conversations about end-of-life planning, constantly expressing your fear of death can be distressing for your children. Hearing their parent constantly worry about dying can increase your children's own anxiety and fear of loss. It can cast a shadow over your remaining time together, preventing you from fully enjoying each other's company. Consider the emotional toll this takes on your children. They're likely already worried about losing you. Constantly voicing your fears can amplify their anxiety, making them feel helpless and scared. It might also make them reluctant to share their own joys and concerns with you, not wanting to burden you further. Moreover, a constant focus on death can lead to a kind of emotional paralysis. Your children might become so worried about your impending death that they struggle to engage fully in their own lives. They might also feel guilty about enjoying life while you're so consumed with fear. There's also the risk of creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. Excessive fear of death can lead to stress and anxiety, which can negatively impact your health. This, in turn, can exacerbate your fears, creating a vicious cycle. Instead of dwelling on fears, focus on living fully in the present. Say things like, "I'm grateful for each day we have together." This shifts the focus from what you're afraid of losing to what you're thankful to have. If you need to discuss practical matters, frame it positively. "I want to make sure everything's in order so you don't have to worry." This approach allows you to address necessary end-of-life planning without dwelling on fear. It's okay to acknowledge your fears occasionally. You might say, "Sometimes I worry about what the future holds, but I'm trying to focus on enjoying our time together now." This shows your children that it's normal to have fears, but it's important not to let them overshadow the present. 6. I wish I had pursued my dreams instead of raising a family. We all have moments of what if. Maybe you had dreams of traveling the world or becoming a famous artist. It's okay to have these thoughts, but expressing regret over choosing family can be hurtful. Telling your children you wish you'd chosen a different path can make them feel like they're a barrier to your happiness. It can lead to feelings of guilt and inadequacy. Think about the message this sends. Your children might start to see themselves as obstacles to your fulfillment rather than sources of joy. This can create a deep-seated sense of guilt that can affect their self-esteem and their own life choices. Moreover, it can make your children question the value of family. If you regret choosing family over dreams, they might wonder if they should do the same. This could influence their decisions about starting their own families, potentially depriving them of the joys of parenthood. There's also the risk of creating distance in your relationship. Your children might start to pull away, thinking that their presence reminds you of your unfulfilled dreams. They might be less likely to share their own dreams and accomplishments, fearing that it will only highlight what you've missed out on. Instead, share your passions with your children. Say, "I've always loved art. Would you like to take a painting class with me?" This way, you're including them in your interests, rather than positioning them as obstacles. Remember, it's never too late to pursue your interests. You might say, "I'm glad I chose to raise a family, and now I'm excited to explore some of my other interests, too." This shows that family and personal fulfillment aren't mutually exclusive. Try to reframe your thinking. Instead of seeing family as a barrier to your dreams, consider how it's enriched your life and given you new dreams. You might say, "Raising you kids has been my greatest adventure. Now I'm looking forward to our next chapter together." 7. I'm disappointed in the choices you've made. This is perhaps the most crucial point. As parents, we have hopes and dreams for our children. Sometimes their choices might not align with what we envisioned for them, but expressing disappointment can be incredibly damaging. Telling your adult children you're disappointed in their life choices can erode their self-confidence and strain your relationship. It can make them less likely to share important aspects of their lives with you, fearing your judgment. Consider the long-term impact of expressing disappointment. Your child might start to doubt their own judgment, always second-guessing their decisions. This can lead to anxiety, indecisiveness, and a fear of taking risks, all of which can hinder their personal and professional growth. Moreover, it can create a rift in your relationship. Your child might start to see you as a source of criticism rather than support. They might become defensive or withdrawn, sharing less of their life with you to avoid potential disapproval. This can lead to a breakdown in communication and emotional distance. There's also the risk of pushing your child towards choices they don't really want, just to gain your approval. This can lead to resentment and unhappiness in the long run. Remember, your child's life path doesn't have to mirror your own to be valid and fulfilling. Instead, try to understand their perspective. Say something like, "I may not always understand your choices, but I respect your right to make them. I'm here if you want to talk." This approach shows that your love is unconditional and opens the door for honest communication. It's okay to express concern if you genuinely believe your child is making harmful choices, but frame it as concern for their well-being, rather than disappointment in them as a person. You might say, "I'm worried about how this decision might affect you. Can we talk about it?" Remember, your role as a parent evolves as your children grow. Try to shift from being a director of their lives to being a supportive consultant. Offer advice when asked, but respect their autonomy to make their own decisions. Thank you for watching this video on the 7 things you shouldn't tell your children as you age. Remember, open communication is key, but it should always come from a place of love and consideration. The most powerful words you can say to your children are simple. "I love you, I'm proud of you, and I'm here for you." These words, spoken sincerely and often, can strengthen your family bonds like nothing else. If you found this advice helpful, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on our future videos. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Stay tuned for our next video.